If you find yourself killing an apex predator for whatever reason, better make sure it is really dead. Sounds like common sense? Not always. Back in 2012, Alex Machado and his friend Nathan Shinn shot and killed a black bear. Or so they thought. Turns out, the animal was not dead at all. Instead, it was very much alive and very, very angry at the two young hunters. Men versus angry, and maybe rightfully so, beast. What followed was a literal fight for life, and only one side could emerge victorious. It was the 1st of November 2012. The big game hunting season was underway in southern Oregon. As usual, plenty of people with varying degrees of experience and skill wanted to try their luck at bringing down game, some for meat, others for sport. 22-year-old Alex Machado and his friend 24-year-old Nathan Shinn were among the hunters that season. Machado was from Medford, Oregon, while Shinn was a Phoenix native. The two of them were good friends, and they trusted each other in a hunt. At some point, they'd settled on the area around Medford as their hunting ground. When November 1st came around, the two young men set out into the wild, ready for the kill. Located some 27 miles north of the Northern California border, Medford is the county seat of Jackson County, Oregon. The area is much drier and sunnier than many other regions in the Pacific Northwest and Oregon. The climate is also warmer, both in summer and winter, but the area surrounding the city is rich in wildlife. There are many species native to Oregon, from delicate butterflies to flying squirrels, from turtles to cranes. But there's also plenty to do for someone who relishes in hunting. There's deer and elk. Those who really mean big by big game can acquire tags for hunting cougars or black bears. When they set out for their hunting trip back on November 1st, 2012, both Machado and Shinn had tags that allowed them to shoot black bears legally. Still, black bears weren't their intended target. The men primarily wanted to hunt deer. Sometime during their trip, the two men arrived near Elk Creek Road in Trail. Trail is an unincorporated area in Jackson County, located around the mouth of the Trail Creek at the Rogue River. Elk Creek Road is a 10-mile trail, generally considered an easy route by hikers. The trail is popular for several outdoor activities, such as hiking, mountain biking, and running, but this doesn't mean the area is free from danger, as in wildlife activity. It was near Elk Creek Road that Alex Machado and Nathan Shinn came upon not a deer, but a black bear. Black bears are the most common bears found in the forests of North America. Though they're smaller than grizzlies and generally regarded as less dangerous, black bears can do as much damage to a human. They have curved claws and snapping jaws for a reason, and out there in the middle of nature, it's their territory, not ours. Black bear encounters can result in injury or death, with reports of attacks surfacing every year. The best defense against black bears is to avoid them, the way they generally avoid people. But completely avoiding an animal in its natural habitat is not always possible. That's why you should always be prepared for an unwanted encounter when you're out and about in the proverbial middle of nowhere. 22-year-old Alex Machado and 24-year-old Nathan Shinn were, in fact, very well prepared for any kind of encounter. Both of them were armed. And while the men were out there, especially for deer hunting, they couldn't say no to this opportunity. Machado shot at the bear, hitting it in the abdomen. The injury seemed fatal, and if the bear was still moving, that was because the animal was stubborn. But soon enough, the hunters knew the animal would be dead. Still, the animal kept moving slowly, trying to get away from the two men and hide further into the forest. Machado and Shinn followed it patiently. Time wasn't an issue. After walking for about a mile, the animal reached a meadow and then suddenly collapsed to the ground. It was lying on its side, and it was dead, or at least that's what Machado and Shinn believed. Needless to say, they were wrong and blinded by their excitement. Believing the animal was truly dead, Alex Machado let go of his rifle. He and Nathan Shinn approached the bear, perhaps with a spring in their step. Anyway, at this point, both men were certain the animal was no longer a danger. Machado led the way toward the still body of the animal. But as the 22-year-old hunter got near the black bear, he had the fright of a lifetime. In fact, Machado probably thought there would be no lifetime left for him at all. The bear, which was very much alive, lunged at Machado. The animal was angry, and who wouldn't be, gravely injured as it was. Desperate to protect himself and realizing his rifle wasn't on him, Machado jumped behind a tree. Luckily, Machado thought, he still had his hunting knives. Perhaps those would be enough to fend off the bear and prevail in this nightmarish situation. As you can probably imagine, the knives weren't enough to deter the animal. Machado desperately swiped the blades at the bear, but the enraged animal simply knocked them aside. The situation was becoming increasingly bleak, at least from Machado's perspective. The bear thought perhaps it was simply getting its revenge. Nathan Shinn, Machado's friend, couldn't simply wait around for the bear to finish off his friend. The 24-year-old hunter from Phoenix fired a warning shot in the air, but the animal couldn't care less. Instead of running away, the black bear bit down hard on Machado's arm. It was at that moment that Machado started screaming in terror. Bear latched on his arm and all. Thrashing and screaming, Alex Machado managed to release his arm from the bear's mouth, but he wasn't fast enough to get away. In an instant, the bear sank its teeth inside Machado's upper thigh. Trying to get away from an angry bear doesn't give a person much opportunity to take in the surroundings. In a flash, Machado and the bear tumbled down a 50-foot embankment. When they finally hit the ground, the whole thing couldn't have been worse for Machado. The bear landed across his chest, still enraged, still ready to kill. But Machado had a secret asset. He's been a wrestler in high school, and he still had some of those skills. Instinctively, the man wrapped his arms around the bear's neck, putting it in a headlock. He started squeezing as hard as he could, while also screaming for his friend Nathan Shinn to come and shoot the bear. Shinn tried to shoot the animal, but his gun failed to fire. The man didn't let panic overcome him. Instead, he grabbed Machado's previously discarded rifle and fired again. It worked this time. The bear went limp in Machado's arms, finally dead. The men started walking and got separated as Shinn tried to get enough reception to call 911. Machado kept walking further uphill, and that's when he came across a sheriff's office lieutenant. The officer took the injured Alex Machado to an area where Mercy Flights, a not-for-profit provider of emergency air and ground medical transport, had staged. Machado was taken to Rouge Regional Hospital. His injuries were non-life-threatening. He had no broken bones, but was in dire need of stitches for the gaping wounds on his right arm, hand, and thigh. Nathan Shinn was located an hour later, uninjured. He was brought to safety. Because neither of the hunters remembered the exact location of the dead bear at the time, efforts had to be made to locate it. After this incident, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office warned hunters to be cautious. The office advised that when killing any type of game animal, always approach it from the front to make sure if it's indeed dead.